네. 저거.
무궁화 꽃이 피었습니다.
Hello guys! Back again with a movie recap here. This time we will discuss a drama from Korea called The Squid Game. This drama is about a game with prize money worth 45 billion won for anyone who can survive to the final round. There are 456 players coming from different regions in Korea and each of them have a lot of debt. That's why in the game they are willing to do anything to survive and get the prize. But then the participants regretted it because the game played was not an ordinary game, but a game that risks lives. Can they win the game? Let's follow the storyline.
무궁화 꽃이 피었습니다.
내가 대리팀 것도 다 갖다 줬잖아.
The drama begins by showing a widower named Sung Gi-hun who worked odd jobs and became a burden to his elderly mother because it was also his wife who left him and married another man.
아이고, 치킨 좋아 안 하나? 예, 닭이나 한 마리 세 먹이고 와.
Even custody for her daughter fell to his wife, who's now living happily with her new family. With all the bad luck in his life, Gi-hun still tries to be a good father on his daughter's birthday. He desperately took his mother's money to be doubled in gambling. Fortunately, he managed to win that gamble and earn quite a lot of money. However, once out of the gambling area he was immediately pursued by loan sharks who wanted to collect debts to Gi-hun. Seeing a swarm of loan sharks, Gi-hun immediately ran away to save the money. Unfortunately, he was caught.
정말?
He's trying to negotiate and said he would pay half of his debt with the proceeds of his victory today, but when he checked the money it turned out that all the money had been lost. Then he realized earlier that he had hit a girl who had stolen everything. Well, because he can't pay the debt. The loan shark forces Gi-hun to sign a contract that says Gi-hun can't pay his debts in the near future. The organs in his body will be taken and sold by loan sharks.
잘했어.
All the misfortunes of his life frustrated him because on his daughter's birthday he could not buy good food and beautiful gifts. He felt he had failed to be a good father for his daughter. Now in his life all that remains is misfortune and debt which he won't be able to pay. In the midst of his despair, Gi-hun also gets a glimmer of hope. At that time the young man gave him a ticket to a game. The young man said that if Gi-hun manages to finish the game there then he will get the money very much. Hearing that, Gi-hun was interested and followed what the young man said. Long story short, Gi-hun and the other people who fate the same seem to be taken away using a car. They are drugged to maintain the secrecy of the game venue. In addition, all their mobile phones and luggage were confiscated and will be returned later when they're coming home. There were 456 participants gathered in a large room. The game's place is managed by a mysterious black masked person with his men who use all red clothes. They keep everything very secret. Even their identities cannot be known to anyone. There Gi-hun met several other participants, among them, are Cho Sang-woo, childhood friend of Gi-hun, Oil Nam-sig, grandparents, a foreign worker named Ali, a gangster named Deok-soo, woman named Mi Ryong, and girl from North Korea named Se-byeok. Se-byeok is the girl who previously stole all of Gi-hun's money, so when he saw it, Gi-hun became very angry, but had not been able to reply. The organizers came to their room and the organizers explained. During that time there they will play 6 games. There are some rules that must be agreed to by the players before starting games, where the player must not stop in the middle of the game. Then the player who refuses play will be directly eliminated, and the last game will be stopped if the majority participants agreed to it. After agreeing to all the terms, the participants were directed to a different room to start the first game. The first game they will play is a red light, green light. There is a giant robot at the end of the room that will serve as a guard. Well, when the robot says the green light, the players are allowed to move as quickly as possible so that they can immediately reach the finish line before the time ran out. But when the robot said a red light, the players should not move at all because if caught by the robot, then they will be immediately eliminated. Sounds pretty simple, but the real reality is more horrible. How come the intention of the elimination of the game is not just removed but shot to death? Bullets came from different angles. All of them are set to instantly shoot anyone who moves during a red light.
무궁화 꽃이 피었습니다.
Gihan and some of the remaining players were forced to finish the game even though they had to see hundreds of bodies lying unattended around them. They have to stay concentrated in order to get to the finish line safely and not run out of time. Those who have crossed the finish line before time runs out will be declared to have escaped and entitled to go to the next game. Gihan is trying to run as fast as possible in his final seconds, but unfortunately he slipped and almost fell. Fortunately, Ali, who was behind Gihan, managed to pull his shirt so that he could survive and finally escape the first game, while those who are still left because they run out of time are immediately declared lost and shot one by one. After completing the first game, the participants were again gathered in the room. From the 456 participants, there are now only 201 participants left. The remaining participants were scared because of what happened in the first game. As a result, they agreed to end all that by voting. Before voting, the committee reminded them that now the prizes collected have reached more than 25 billions. It is accumulated from the number of participants who have died, and if they leave the game, they will be sent home without a penny.
참가자 456명, 따라서 총 상금은 456억.
It certainly makes them all falter, but in the end, by a margin of one vote, they agreed to end the game. After the agreement, the participants were finally repatriated back to their area.
사장님, 여기 어디예요?
The next day, Gihan decides to go to the police station and report the violent gaming syndicate earlier. He also told them everything. They were taken back until they were repatriated, police heard. All the stories can only laugh. Then Gihan gave them a ticket to the game. He had previously gotten it from a mysterious young man before. There is a number, a phone call that could be reached, but when the police tried to confirm the number, someone picked it up, actually an ordinary woman. It also made the police angry with Gihan, and thinking he is crazy. Soon a policeman named Junho is just arrived at the police station. I don't know why he seems interested in game tickets that were brought by Gihan. He even asked Gihan's identity to the police who listened to Gihan's story before. Junho seems to know something strange from that ticket. Unexpectedly, he also had the exact same ticket as Gihan's. The ticket belonged to her long-lost brother. Junho feels that his brother must have been at the game.
나왔어요.
Elsewhere, Gihan, who returned home, was confused to find his mother. It turns out that Gihan's mother is currently hospitalized for acute diabetes. Even the doctor advised him to immediately perform surgery, but the mother chose to go home because couldn't afford the hospital treatment.
나타나가 뭐 효자 행세해.
That thing also makes Gihan sad and disappointed in himself. He is even desperate to borrow money from his ex-wife so he is able to pay for his mother's medical expenses. But what he got is insults from his ex-wife's new husband, who also forbade him to approach his own real daughter. It certainly makes Gihan angry and immediately beat up that guy. Now Gihan realizes that what the game committee said was true. The outside world is far more cruel than what's going on inside there. They will stay in debt and die at the hands of loan sharks. All the harsh realities of the world make Gihan and others interested in re-entering the game arena. At night they all gathered and were picked up like the first time. But now what's different is that they can better prepare themselves because they've known what's going to happen in it. From the other direction, Junho also joined the infiltration in the car. This time he was determined to enter the game arena in order to find her missing brother. He beat up a committee man and took his costume so that he can disguise himself without anyone knowing.
정신이 드세요? 자네.
As usual, the participants were again gathered in a large room. From 201, now only 187 decided to take part again, which means the gift as well is increasing more. At the same time, Junho, who is confused, also now has to disguise himself.
옛날 생각할 시간 있으면
이 가운데 난로가 있으면 그냥 딱 데워 먹고 좋은데.
At night, Se-byuk, who was carrying a small knife, went to the toilet and tried to infiltrate through ventilation with the help of Mi-ryong. But she managed to get into the vent and see what happens in the other room. There she saw the committee making large-scale candy.
뭐해? 계속 줘.
The next day, the participants prepared and gathered to play the game. Second, before starting the game, Sang-woo asks Se-byuk what she looked at last night. He also said that this game must be a childhood game. Se-byuk, who is from North Korea, is bound to struggle. For reasons, Se-byuk told him that she saw the organizers making candy. After listening to Sang-woo immediately remembers his childhood game. They are eroding the sugar according to its shape. That's why it's intentional. It takes the shape of a triangle because it is the easiest shape. But strangely, Sang-woo doesn't tell his closest friends about it and instead lets in. They choose a difficult shape such as Gi-hun taking an umbrella shape and grandfather took a star shape.
선택의 시간이 끝났습니다.
Participants have 10 minutes to complete this game. For participants who fail to create a suitable shape, they will be immediately eliminated or shot. This thing also made the other participants panic and get more scared. They're all trying as hard as possible to get the desired pattern. Mi-ryong looks to use the match to heat the needle so that the candy is easier to melt. Participants who take easy form one by one begin to successfully complete the mission safely. But the problem is the participants who take difficult forms, while they are also pursued by diminished time. At that time, Young-hoo began to be suspected by other organizers because he seemed confused and did not seem to know his duties there.
제 임무는 29번의 임무는 탈락자 5번이야.
At the last moment, Gi-hun got a brilliant idea to be able to complete the mission quickly. At that time he saw that their candy already had its own pattern, so all they had to do was lick the candy until it could be separated from the pattern. It was the fastest way they could do right now if they wanted to survive. The participants who saw Gi-hun also immediately followed the trick. Unexpectedly, it helps them so much that several participants including Gi-hun and grandfather successfully complete the mission safely. But there was a participant who failed and tried to fight back at the committee. The participant pointed a gun at the committee and asked him to remove the mask. But as soon as he removed the mask, he was immediately shot by the game organizers. All the organizers there had an agreement that they are prohibited from unmasking or their identities inside the game hall, except when they are in the room and alone.